Watch how I, a former IELTS speaking examiner, handles difficult Part 3 questions. I'm Douglas. I'm a former IELTS speaking and writing examiner of over 10 years. When you take the IELTS speaking test, you have no way of knowing what topics you're going to be asked about. They may be topics that you talk about with your friends every day. They may be topics that you learned in school, or they may be topics that you really never ever think about at all. You have no way of knowing and no way of preparing because the examiner is going to choose the topics randomly before you even come into the examining room. A lot of people who could get high bands get stuck in part 3 because it's a topic that they are not very familiar with or they don't think about a lot. However, you are not doomed to get a low band score simply because of the topic. There are things that you can do to help yourself. To give you an example of how I would approach this if I was the one who was taking the test and I was given a topic that I don't know that much about. I have chosen a topic and some questions for speaking part 3. However, these questions I found online. All I checked was the topic. I don't really know what the questions are, and I certainly have not thought about it ahead of time so that I could simulate what it will be like for you when you take the speaking test. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the questions. I'll be asked them. I'm just going to speak spontaneously. I'm not going to overthink them. The important thing is that you need to talk, right? This is a speaking test. If you don't give an answer, if you have nothing really to say, then they can't mark you, right? You need to have something come out of your mouth, and we need to frame it as an opinion. We need to give our ideas. And where possible, it will always be a good idea to give examples as well. The thing is, if you're not very familiar with this topic, you might not have a lot of examples at hand. I would say that it's always best if you can provide examples from your own knowledge. It does not have to be, it can be something that happened to you, it can be something that happened to a friend of yours, whatever comes to mind. If you're really stuck, you could make up some examples. The examiner, they will not know, right? This is not a knowledge test. So if you need to make up some examples, that is something that you could do if you're really stuck. But whenever possible, I would try to use your own examples because it will sound more natural for sure. So let's watch me try to answer these questions. Do you think science is important? Yes, I believe that science is vital. I mean, our society would not be where it is today without science. Um, Science helps people stay alive. If they are sick, if they're injured, that's science. Furthermore, all of the technology that we use nowadays, that's a result of people who have ideas, they're testing it out, and that's science. So I think it's something that's all around us, even if we're not always aware what's happening. But this whole everything is comes from science. Do you think science can change our society? Oh, for sure. Just like I mentioned in the last question, I think we are where we are right now in this current point of history because of science. We would not have this massive population that we have on the earth right now without it, because of the vaccines that have come from science, because of what people can do in hospitals, what doctors do in hospitals every day in order to save people's lives and to help people to live longer lives. That's all a result of science, and that has a massive impact on our society, and it will continue to do so forever. Which area of science has been the most important in the last 100 years? It's my firm belief that the most important area of science in the last 100 years would be in the area of medicine again. I think vaccines have really changed our world. In the past, people would have a lot of kids, and unfortunately, quite a few of them would not survive childhood because of disease. And after more vaccines came out for uh, certain diseases, such as polio, which killed a lot of people, smallpox is another one, then people were able to survive and not be and next generations were not impacted by these terrible diseases. Why do you think some inventions have not been successful in the marketplace? Perhaps certain inventions did not succeed out in the market because, maybe these were interesting ideas and unique ideas, but these were not useful for people. These were not things that people needed in order to survive or in order to thrive or simply just to be happy. These were just things that people could either live with or without. It didn't really matter. Whereas certain things that um, helped people really thrive, like let's say like cell phones, for example, this helps people communicate and it helps people do business as well. It's completely changed everything. People can make money just by simply having a phone. And so I think something like that survives, whereas other other things that are, that don't help people at all just don't. Do you think it's good that inventions are appearing so often? To be honest, I never really considered this question specifically, but I suppose it's not a bad thing. I mean, I think it's great if people have ideas and they're able to introduce them to people, and then it's up to the public to decide whether these inventions are useful for our lives or not. If inventions were not appearing that often, then maybe we just would not have the advancement in society that we have today. But because people are able to introduce new inventions all the time, we're able to make these decisions about, oh, hey, this really helps us, or, now I think I can live without it. Do you think there will be any negative effects from future technology? Yes, I think absolutely. Um, you know, Technology, as we have seen, there's always going to be some negative consequences. You look at the internet, for example, there's a lot of great things that come from the internet. People are able to communicate more easily with other people. They're able to learn knowledge that they might not be able to get just in their local area. But of course, we know all about the negative consequences as well. People get addicted to it. There's misinformation and other more harmful things. In the future, there'll be other technologies, and I believe that these will undoubtedly also have certain negative consequences. But as a society, we have to decide: are the drawbacks worth what we gain from this technology? So what you could see here in this video is that I got some questions. And again, I did not prepare at all for this. I did not think ahead about these questions. I simply read them and then I answered, which is what you're going to be doing when you take the speaking test. I did my best to try to answer in a coherent way that was easy for the examiner to follow along. I tried to provide examples where I could so that my answer was more in depth. And, sometimes I had to kind of think on the fly and I didn't always know what to say. So I have to use certain techniques in order to kind of buy me a little bit of time. I've never thought about that too much. Or, wow, that's an interesting question. I would say that, so you can insert these little phrases there that sort of give you a few seconds to gather your thoughts. It's a really useful technique, but mostly you just have to practice lots and lots. And the more you do it, the easier it will become to handle these difficult questions. You'll be able to think spontaneously more easily. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe and I'll be releasing lots more videos on the IELTS speaking test and every part of the IELTS test in order to help you achieve a band 6.5 or higher. See you on the next video.